farm in 2013 on land that I inherited from my dad, who passed away 10 years ago, and that started over on a road over there. You can walk through the woods to get there. We found out that this land that I inherited on an old apple orchard had high levels of lead in the soil, so we had to quickly pivot where we were planting things. And after a year or two of figuring that out, this property came up for sale, and was able to use other inheritance money to buy this property, which abuts the land that I inherited. So very lucky to have inherited so much wealth in that sense. The woman we bought the house and the property from, was a gardener, I'll say, not quite a farmer, but she definitely had a reverence for the land and was, she prioritized me and my goals for farming this land. So it was very clear that she wanted a farmer to be here. We are farming on about 2 acres, or we have 2 acres in cultivation, I should say. But the property here, all in all, with what I inherited over there, with what we bought here as well, is almost 100 acres, but much of that is in the woods. We were mostly a farmer's market farm, going to local farmers markets in Northampton and in Greenfield, but we've shifted a bit this year. We're doing more CSA deliveries. We do a farm to home box share. So we do a CSA, farmers market, and we do some local wholesaling to restaurants and groceries in the area. The apple orchard that I inherited with all the lead in the soil, I inherited that from my dad, and he had put it in APR, in conservation. So it is permanently in conservation, but there is an easement for ag use on it. So it's also in Chapter 61, which is great because the taxes are very low on it. This year we've been implementing low or even no-till systems using these tarps, also known as occultation. So we tarp beds that we're done using. Last week we finished harvesting arugula from this bed, which we donated. And with the power of the sun, it will fry the arugula and any weeds and weed seeds in there. And we leave it on for a minimum of 2 weeks. This time of year, longer, because the sun is less strong. And it basically creates the bed for us, and it holds that space so that new weed seeds are not coming into it. And then when we take it off, we don't have an example of it where I planted today. That's an example of it. We took the tarp off and just raked it, pulling off any last debris that might be in there. But everything that was green and luscious turns into organic matter and promotes the soil health underneath the tarp. We're not certified organic, though we do grow organically. And we chose to do that mostly because it's too expensive to become organic, and found that our customers, we're small enough that the label of organic isn't crucial. If we were selling lots of products that had to say organic all over them, it probably would be more beneficial for us. But we have a very close relationship with our customers and are able to tell them about our practices. It allows us to grow earlier in the season and grow later in the season. As it says in the grant for season extension. So that has been super helpful for us. And for our mid-season, we have our tomatoes and peppers and hot crops in here, so we're able to protect them and have them last longer throughout the season. In Conway, 3 years ago, there was a tornado. It wasn't even a microburst. There was a real tornado that hit the center of town, and it didn't hit our farm, but it came to the bottom of our road here, so very close. And just knowing that we are in a windy place and the climate is changing, so, and the snow load is very intense up here. We sometimes get 5 to 10 more inches of snow than they do in, say, Greenfield or Northampton. So just knowing that we needed more support in these tunnels and buying the wind brace kit has been great. We haven't had any breakage happen. Yeah, so we've seen a lot of change happen this year because of COVID-19, but separately, the climate is certainly changing, and we're always talking about how we can adapt to it and know what to plant, know how to plant, and it's hard to say that there's one way that we're doing that, because there's lots of different angles that we're trying to take and intuit what is going to happen in the future, which is scary. But we are implementing certain low-till systems, which I don't know if that's going to combat climate change and resiliency in when there might be some horrible destructive force like a tornado, but it certainly is allowing us to further our dependence on fossil fuels, things that we might not be able to access as easily in the future. And in terms of COVID-19 this year, we've had to adapt a lot in our business model, in shifting from mostly a farmer's market business to more of a CSA business, and responding to our community that we were having a high demand for our farm to home delivery CSA, which we call box share. So we've tripled that, and then we've dropped one farmer's market in Northampton, and that worked out really well. We've also extended our season, so we did an early spring CSA, and we're doing a late season CSA as well. So it's all about adapting as it's coming, I think, but being in one place for a long time and getting to know the land and getting to know your community and what they're looking for is super important in being able to pivot at any moment. But we have been talking about it a lot on the farm this year and want to find more ways to provide food to people who don't have access to fresh local food, even if they might live really close to it, in getting food to people who have been impacted by job loss or any kind of loss right now, who are in need of food. So we're selling food to the Survival Center in Northampton, and we've been working with the Hilltown CDC but we're a part of their mobile market program, which brings food to rural communities. We've invited people to come glean from our beds that we're done with. So just last week we had a bed of arugula that was not overgrown, but we had a next bed that we had moved to. So we called up a volunteer, and she came and harvested 5 pounds off of it, and then the next day a different volunteer came and brought it down to the center. I feel like I live in a great place to be a woman farmer. There's a great community here of supportive organizations and other women farmers that are all just supporting each other in whatever way that might mean. It might mean telling each other about different grants that are out there, or maybe just checking in to see how your winter squash is doing. Or I find it to be very easy in this area, but I know that it's very different in other parts of our country and probably different parts of the state. But for the most part, we've had women working on the farm, and it's just a great sense of, I don't know, camaraderie.